On this episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, it's the 2025 draft review. A lot of questions, especially during that draft, where the Broncos went, when they traded back, who they selected. We want to get your thoughts about the players they picked, what you thought about the draft overall as we go live now on the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Let's go. Hello, and welcome back, man, to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. After amazing coverage over 3 full days, paired up with the K&K Sports Show for the Pick Is In Draft Show, I was having withdrawals. From all of you. I couldn't wait to get back into podcasting. I can't wait to start talking about this draft class, what your thoughts are around it. But I'm not going to be alone. You can see him on the screen. I'll start going around the horn. I got my good friend, the Judge, Jody Moncrief. Welcome in, Judge. How you doing this evening?
Doing well. Just excited to talk about this draft class and get everyone's thoughts and opinions on what they thought, because it wasn't the biggest name players or the players who we thought. So,
ain't that the truth? We'll get into that, man. Kenny Kirkpatrick, he was along for the ride for those 3 days as well. He saw it all go down, but now we get to look back and really, bring it all in, take a look at these players and get to talk about them tonight. Kenny, welcome back. I can't wait to talk.
Thank you. And good to see everybody. After Saturday's marathon, I probably fell asleep around 9 p.m. Eastern and didn't wake up until the morning hours the next day. But then Sunday, I was having those withdrawals, like Keith said, from everybody. I needed to go back on, but I got to do a podcast yesterday with Paul Giants. That's another team, another day. But tonight it's all about the Broncos and our first Bronco Roundup since the draft. Before we get started, Keith, I want to say hello to Michael, who's sending us 100 stars. Good evening, Keith, Jody, and Kenny, and Go Bo Broncos. And everybody's friend, Michael Ronquillo, he was with us for the ride for 3 days, along with everybody else I'm seeing in here. And you don't mind, I'd like to congratulate, for those who don't know, I would like to congratulate Phil McLaughlin on winning our grand prize, the Bo Nix throwback jersey. So congratulations, Phil, well-deserved, and all the winners as well. That from the 3 days of giveaways that we had.
Yes, those will be heading out this week. Bo Nix autographed jersey in those throwback colors, heading out to Phil McLaughlin. That was top prize. But thanks for everyone that came along for the ride, entered in for prizes. Those winners, congratulations, and expect those prizes to be heading out this week. That'll be fun. I want to see the reaction and maybe a photo or two as people get their prizes. That would be fantastic. But we got some prizes in this NFL draft. We have some prizes, obviously, in the comments as well. I just want to say hello to a few friends. Paul Schaefer came in first. He says, we got a slot corner, an electric running back, a rotational wide receiver, a rotational pass rushing defensive end, a punter, and a special teams freak. That was his thoughts. And hello to Ernie Mays, who I put up on the screen as well, and Dan, who came in here, Michael, obviously. But Dan said he wants to be the first to say that he hates this draft class. So we're going to get I said I wanted to get into it. I wanted to get some thoughts, some opinions, and exactly how this all went down. First and foremost, I do want to talk about this. The Broncos knew about this heading into the draft. Reports came out massively maybe massively bad for the Denver Broncos. Now it's kind of been reeled back a little bit, but the reports that Dre Greenlaw injured his quad. I want to get to Jody. Is the Denver local media downplaying this? Was the Bay Area media over-reporting this? How bad do you think this injury is? And do you think it affects the Denver Broncos as we head into the 25 season?
I think they were overplaying it. From reports close to Greenlaw, it sounds like it was just a strain, not a tear. Sounds like it'll be weeks, not months. So I mean, we're only in the 1st of May. You give him a full month off or something, he'll be back, and I think he'll be ready. He should be good to go for OTAs.
Kenny, does it draw any concern for you? It didn't seem like it draw much concern when it came to the Denver Broncos draft overall, but does it draw any concern from you?
Yeah, first and foremost, Keith, let me say hello to Phil. Let's all say hello to Phil. He's dropping 50 stars. Good evening, Keith, Kenny, and Judge. Still can't believe I won. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for being a part of the ride and being a great supporter. And guess it paid off for you this time around. So congratulations to you, my friend.
I would be lying if I said there wasn't a tiny bit of concern. We're talking about a guy who was out all of last year, and we're hearing about, small injuries already before even the OTAs start and training camp starts. So I'd be lying if I said there isn't a little bit of concern, but let's hope it is just something minor and it's forgotten about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it's something that we can put in the past very quickly. That would be nice. But I agree, just because of that inside linebacker. I mean, you have Singleton that's coming back from the big ACL. You have Dre Greenlaw that's coming back as well, and now you see a little bit of a setback from one of them, possibly. It's just like I don't want this to snowball. We can have all the pieces and parts in place as long as these guys come back and they come back healthy. Because if not, don't know if I want to be turning to Lavelle Bailey like right off the bat. I mean, that's not the best position to be in, or Sternad or wherever you have to turn in order to make this roster run come week one. No more setbacks. Keep my nerves at bay. So Dre Greenlaw, get healthy. And Alex Singleton, by all reports, sounds like he's on his way to recovery. But like I said, didn't affect the NFL draft, and I want to jump right into it, man. Draft started off kind of a little bit of it as expected, some trades at the top, obviously Jacksonville and Cleveland. We could talk the entire episode about the Shedeur Sanders slide, but that obviously happened in the first round. But I'll go to you first, Kenny, as the picks started going off the board and number 20 was coming up for the Denver Broncos. I don't think any mock draft, I know we didn't have Jahdae Barron ever circled on our draft board for the number 20th overall pick. Where were you thinking the Denver Broncos were going to go at that point? And then we can get into that, the overall pick of Jahdae Barron and what you think of that as well.
Yeah, I could honestly say percentage-wise, I was about 75% sure they were going to go running back. But I didn't know which running back, if it was going to be Omarion Hampton or Henderson. But I thought both of them fell right in the lap for Sean Payton's offense and George Payton if they wanted to go that route, and I thought they were. And I was surprised, like everybody else, that they went with their best player on the board, Jahdae Barron. But you can never have too much of one position. Look at the Giants. Probably going to bring them as comparisons a couple times tonight. Abdul Carter loaded up the edge rusher. You load up your secondary. I got no problems with that pick. And are we grading them, Keith, the picks? Or
I'll go back around for a grade here.
Yeah,
at the
but
very
that's
end.
my thought. The best player available. About 75% shocked that they didn't go running back though.
Yeah. Fair enough, Jody. Same question. Any different reaction? And what do you think about Jahdae Barron before we give him a grade?
Same thing.
The selection of Jahdae Barron, I should say.
I agree with Kenny. Same thing. I thought they'd go offense first round. I'm glad they did not take Omarion Hampton. That was the one guy I did not want. And I'm glad to hear Peyton come out and say why they didn't take him right away. That they have that same player or a better player in Estime on the roster already.
Yeah.
But I like this pick. I mean, he was the best player on the board. If you weren't sold on one of these wide receivers or whatever, I like improving this position. Jaquan McMillan's a free agent after this year. This guy can play multiple positions. You'll probably hear it multiple times. The Joker, the defense, he can play off, safety. He can come down and play, linebacker when he needs to. He can play corner, inside, outside. So I love this pick. It fills a bunch of needs. And maybe it helps Riley Moss as well. Maybe his better position is inside. Who knows? This guy can play both in and out, so does a lot of things. And they addressed running back later anyway, so I like the pick. It's great. You already had the top defense, and now you just bolstered it even more.
Jody gives a little bit of hindsight. Once we got the running back, then he felt a little bit better. But, at pick 20, obviously, I think there was a lot of shock that it wasn't that running back, that it wasn't Amarian Hampton like a lot of people had speculated, especially with him still sitting there and not going earlier, whether it be a trade or selection by, someone like the Dallas Cowboys who ended up going guard instead. So, that I agree, 100% shock. Thought it was going to be running back. I was hopeful that as well that it wasn't going to be Amarian Hampton, but I say that nervously now that he was selected right after us and ends up going to the Los Angeles Chargers, who will see him twice a year. We'll get to see what we missed out on firsthand, I guess is the best way I get to put it. So, just another amazing running back that got selected in the AFC West, obviously within this first round. But yeah, I think I was pretty early in the draft process after the season ended saying, if we got a corner, I wouldn't be upset. I think we have the ability to completely lock it down. It might have been during the PS4 episode that me and Kenny Kirkpatrick put on, but I absolutely loved the pick. I love getting better on defense, and I found out that Sean Payton wasn't giving us a big smokescreen this year. They talked about getting better on defense multiple times and how that helps out Bo Nix, and they proved it with the number 20th overall pick. I do got to ask this really quickly before we get to grading this pick. Kenny, do you think that Emeka Egbuka going right before us to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers changed our pick? Do you think we would have went with a wide receiver, for instance, one of the, obviously more top tier wide receivers, and a lot of people were speculating wide receiver in the very end?
Yes, and I'm going to answer your question, Keith. And then before we do the grades, can we? I have 2 stars, a comment and a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll throw 2 cents in about Egbuka. I personally do believe, yes, I know that was Jody's number 1 wide receiver, but when you look at Pat Bryant, don't you see an Emeka Egbuka, kind of player there?
Yeah.
So I do think that was their guy, and the Buccaneers might have messed that up, but they had an excellent plan B, in my opinion. B for Barron. We did our episode, like you said, Keith, upgrade him to PS2, and I joked around and said, how about Will Johnson? Are we, funny that Will Johnson slipped. The Broncos could have taken him at 20, but they chose to take Barron, so they did upgrade the PS2 to a PS4 defense in the secondary. Yep. So, they did do it. So, I do think, to answer your question, though, yes, I do think Egbuka was in play for the Broncos at 20. The comment from Phil, 200 stars. Thank you, Phil, once again.
Thank you, man.
My only concern, it's about the Greenlaw when we were talking about Greenlaw. My only concern with Greenlaw is whether this will be a recurring problem with him.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about, trigger injuries for me, you injure one part of your body, so you're compensating, and it kind of triggers a secondary injury, and can you get past that hump to where you're not always injured to the next part of your body as you're trying to compensate for another? You don't want to see that. I don't know how the quad injury kind of came about, but if he's favoring the lower half of his body by compensating on the upper half of his body, when I talk about his torso, then that thigh comes into play, I guess that's a possibility. I get, but certainly wasn't there. Don't have any medical, but I don't need this to be a reoccurring or just this transitional injury that you might see when guys get injured sometimes. So, any additional comments there?
No, you nailed it for me, Keith. I don't know if Jody wants to add anything.
I don't have anything yet. I want to see when he gets around this this training staff a little bit more. That's everything that's been touted as this training staff and how healthy we've been the last 2 years. Hopefully, they can get him, working out in a way that prevents those injuries.
Yeah. Hopefully they have a good path for him, a good plan for him, and can get him to the field and healthy as quickly as possible. But yeah, like I said, is a little bit of concern, just because of where we sit. I don't want to see a whole lot of injuries. You said, did you have one other?
I have one from Michael, a question, and it's a good one. Everybody's friend Michael Von Keo dropping us 100 stars. Thank you once again, Michael. Keith, Jody, and Kenny, which NFL draft picks the Broncos selected in the 2025 draft will have the most impact in year one with the Broncos? Great question, Keith. Want to take it in the order that he asked? Keith, Jody, Kenny?
Sounds great, man.
Okay.
I'll go first. I think it's tough not to pick. We'll be talking about him next as the number 2, the second pick that the Denver Broncos had in the second round, and that's RJ Harvey. I think he has the quickest path to the field. When you get rid of your running back that had the most amount of touches last year, and then you draft a guy in the second round, I think there's some expectations there. I think he has the quickest path just because of the room that we currently have. And I know there's a lot of faith in my friend next door to me who's going to speak next, and one Audra Guestimay, but I still think that RJ Harvey could have the biggest impact year one. Jody, what are you thinking?
For me, Pat Bryant, after watching some film on him and some different things, this is the exact type of wide receiver that fits Peyton's offense. Runs over the middle, gets great separation, great hands. I think he had 1 drop last year, 3 game-winning catches last year, was a captain for his team. That frees up a lot of things. It allows Mims and Sutton both to work the boundaries a little bit more, those 50-50 balls. So I think he will solidify himself as the number 2 wide receiver on this team, 2 or 3. I can see him playing the slot a lot too, over the middle type things. So, he fits exactly what Peyton's looking for.
All right. We got 2 different answers. Do we get a third?
Yeah, you are getting the third, and people are going to laugh at me and say, "Are you crazy, Kenny?" I've been high on Broncos getting a punter for months. I'm on the website now. Jeremy Crawshaw is going to be a weapon for the defense. And mark my words. Mark this date down. I'm telling you, he's going to make an impact. I'm just going to throw a couple games out. I'm not going to throw his whole season out. Week 1 against Miami, 47.6 yards attempt on 5 punts with a long of 61 yards. Versus Ole Miss, 7 punts for 327 yards, long of 62, highlighted by 1 being muffed and recovered for special teams takeaway and 1 falling inside the 20. How about against your RJ Harvey's team? 4 punts, 183 yards, 53-yard bomb inside the 3-yard line. And 1 more I'll give you. Notched 4 punts against Texas A&M, a 36-yarder, which pinned A&M on their own 1-yard line. You give the Broncos a defense a weapon like this, he's going to make an impact on the team. I'm not crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not crazy. This guy's going to make an impact on the Broncos year one, Michael.
One thing I heard too, piggybacking off of that, is with these picks, they don't expect Knicks to have to drive 90 yards down the field every time. They expect shorter fields, and that's what they drafted in some of these players. The punter, Pat Bryant, RJ Harvey.
Yeah. We'll get into all those picks. Got to get into all these picks because, after the 20th overall pick, the Broncos got a little trade crazy. Holding the 51st overall pick, they give up the 51st pick, the 85th, the 122nd, and the 208th overall to the Panthers and fall back to the 57th pick. Also pick up the 74th, 111th, and 230th. Moves up, moves down, but they end up falling back a little bit in the second round. And so a trade or pick number 57 is coming up, and lo and behold, it's another trade. The Broncos trade out of the 57th overall pick to the Lions, pick up the 60th and 130th pick, giving away the 57th and 230th overall. But two trade backs, man. Two trade backs as we open up the second round. I think I went to bed that night thinking the Broncos are going to go in. They're going to work the phones. They're going to get there into the top of the second, and they're going to get Travion Henderson and wrap this up. Complete opposite happens as we open up the next day and we see two trade backs and ending up at the 60th overall pick. I'll go around the other direction. Jody, what were your thoughts on this as we were trading back at that point? Again, lots of great talent still on the board, and the Broncos seem just fine jumping back. Before you knew that RJ Harvey was selected, do you recall your thought process at that moment?
At the time, I think once Henderson went off the board early, you could tell if there was another running back they loved, which was RJ Harvey, as we found out, and they knew they could get him later in the draft, so that made sense trading back and getting those extra picks. So, I mean, they knew once if Henderson didn't make it to him that he was their number 2 guy, and they could get him and get picks as well. So, I mean, they knew what they were doing, and after watching it, it made a lot of sense.
Gotcha. Had an inkling though that they were looking at that running back, but didn't want to take him where they were selecting at the time.
Right.
End up being a big pick. Kenny, your thoughts?
I don't know if, respectfully so. I know a lot of people liked Henderson. I'm not sure if the Broncos were in love with him. To pass up on him 20 is one thing, but to not move up. They brought him in for a 30-30 visit, the last 30-30 visit. I think Michael told us that a couple weeks ago. Tells me that there was somebody who was uncertain about him. If he's your last visit, they wanted to see something. And if he passed that visit, with flying colors, you might have seen him a Denver Bronco today. I think, they graded him maybe as a round 2 pick where they were picking. Once Henderson went off the board, that Harvey was their next guy, assuming that's what it is, but it could have been Harvey over Henderson all along. We don't know. But, Henderson might have did something at the interview that somebody didn't like, and they said, nope, he's not a first-round grade for us. If he's there in the second, maybe, but not first round. So I hate to burst that bubble, but that's how I feel about Henderson if they passed up on him with a running back room that was as weak as it was.
Well, it was funny when George Payton was doing his post presser. I think day 2, he mentioned that basically they got 3 of the 4 guys that they wanted, and it made me think, what was the trade off? What was the settle for solution? When they were going through the rounds. So there was 3 guys that obviously they had marked, they wanted, they got. I think RJ Harvey was that guy from the very get. Michael Ronquillo comes in and says Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to draft running back RJ Harvey or at pick 70 in the 2025 NFL draft. And when they found out the Broncos drafted RJ Harvey, one of the Jacksonville Jaguar scouts wasn't happy that the Broncos selected him. So,
it's funny, Keith. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's funny you mentioned, 3 out of 4. Well, you can probably predict Savion Jones, since he was a trade up, is one.
Yeah.
And if you think RJ Harvey's 2, so that's 50-50. Was it Jahdae Barron or Pat Bryant? I'm going to say Jahdae Barron because he was probably the best player available for them.
Yeah.
And when the Buccaneers took Ibuka and a couple of their other guys went early, Loveland, a couple of their other guys, I'm going to say Barron was the one guy that they weren't expected to take there, but they went best player available in the first round.
I like this one. Paul saying, but 2 moves back, it was crazy, Keith. I agree. For everything that I think the Broncos were expected to do, or what the narrative is about Sean Payton, I don't think I necessarily saw 2 trade backs. In fact, a lot of people thought maybe this was more of a George Payton hands-on type of draft because there was so much trading going on, and that's it's a lot more active for him and the rest of his personnel in order to try to pull this all off in the time period that you have. So it sure seemed that there was a lot more activity. There's a lot more sign off on to move around this draft, and doing so, we need to get to it. Obviously, RJ Harvey, this selection at number 60. As we roll through this, we're almost halfway through our podcast, so we'll have to pick up the pace here if we're going to get through all these picks. But RJ, we didn't ever grade the Barron pick.
We didn't grade the Barron pick.
Just really quick, we'll give it a quick grade since we talked on it quite a bit. I'll give it an A-. Where did you give it, Kenny?
I'm right there with you. A-. At best player available. I had no problem with the pick.
And Jody, what would you grade it out at?
Solid A for me. I mean, you like you both said, best player available, Thorpe Award winner, no fly zone 2.0.
Yeah, good pick overall. You didn't go wrong by yourself. You didn't go outside the parameters or have any issues with the player. Good quality player, and it was only expected to come in and provide from day one. So RJ Harvey ends up being the selection at 60. Jody, you kind of talked about it. Maybe they thought about it. They thought they had their guy, but they didn't need to select him. They trade back. They get RJ Harvey. What'd you think about the pick of RJ Harvey?
At first, I thought you probably could have got him around later, but then after reports came out that Jacksonville wanted him at 70, and seeing what Sean Payton has done in the past with drafting running backs, I mean, I think this is only the third running back that he's drafted, or the fourth running back he's drafted in the top, I think, 70 or something like that. And if you go look at all his running backs, he doesn't have a lot of running backs that run for 1,000 yards. It's a 2 running back system. Reggie Bush never ran for 1,000 yards with him. I mean, Mark Ingram was in his 6th year before he ran for 1,000 yards. Kamar's never ran for 1,000. So you got to be able to do multiple things, and this guy can. Great pass catcher out of the backfield. When I see the Jaleel McLaughlin comparisons, there's a couple things I like to debunk on that. I mean, he's almost 30 pounds more, weighs 30 pounds more than Jaleel. I mean, yeah, he's short, but he's thick. I mean, he's the same size as Ashton Genty. So, I mean, just saying that he's the replacement or the Jaleel McLaughlin, I disagree with that. And his pass catching, that's what I like. I mean, that's how he used Reggie Bush a lot, and that's what I see here with him using a lot out of the backfield and stuff like that. So,
very good. Fell a little bit more in love with the pick after it was made. Initially, maybe not the happiest. Maybe you thought get him a little bit later. They did allude that they had maybe one more trade that they wanted to try to get done. They couldn't get done. It sounded like they wanted to trade back maybe one more time before they picked RJ Harvey up. So,
and his size is not a problem for me. I mean, he had 232 carries. It's one of only 2 backs to rush for 1,500 last year.
Yeah,
22 touchdowns. I mean, he's if that's what Denver want, what Sean Payton has already said, they're running 2 using multiple running backs, but he can be a 3-down running back if needed.
I believe that as well. Kenny, your thoughts? RJ Harvey.
Michael said it best. Michael's grade was a C-, but he said trust the process. And I'm right along the lines with Michael, but I'm going to go C+. On draft day, maybe it was a D. I was like, why are they picking this guy over these running backs? But looking into him, it went up to a C+. I'm going to trust the process, like Michael said. The reason why it's a C+, I'm not afraid about his running ability. But I got to be concerned with his size blocking. Like Jody said, 3-down back. Is he going to be a 3-down back when they're coming in on safety blitzes or blitzing schemes? Is he going to be able to block NFL caliber NFL players on defense? Is he going to be able to do that? I need to see it before I give this grade an A or a B. C+ for the running ability and the pass catching ability for sure. But blocking, I'm a little worried about.
And that's why I brought up Genty's size. I mean, they're identical in size. So if you were high on Genty and his size wasn't a problem, then RJ Harvey's size can't be a problem for you.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And I would say just what I saw on tape, the guy's more than willing, probably more than willing than a lot of guys out there, let alone guys his size, to go out there and try to get in there and put on a block. Like you said, you get that middle linebacker coming in that's, got a whole head of steam and a lot more behind him. Can he hold up? Can he stand up? Can he get at least enough in the way to protect Bo Nix and let Bo Nix get that pass off? That'll be the question. But it's not going to be a lack of heart or a lack of effort or even a lack of awareness within the offense to know where he needs to go. I think he'll have everything nailed down. It's just whether he can actually take on the hit and help out enough to let that pass go.
And it's very important. I mean, there's a reason Javonte Williams had games that he was getting 0 carries and was in the game a lot of the time. So,
100%.
If you don't mind,
my grade really quick. I'll hit and I'll
get
Jody's grade on RJ Harvey, and then I can get back to you, and then I got to get to our commercial sponsor. My grade overall, just making sure I stay on track. B+ is where I have RJ Harvey. I love the guy. I love the pick. I would have given it a better grade, but I do agree. I think we could have got him a little bit later, or maybe he was taken a little bit high. That does say one thing. The Broncos really love what they have, kind of like how I loved what I saw in RJ Harvey early. And I hope that it works out, man. I think you're taking a running back here in the second round. You've invested highly. So, like I said, B+. Grade on RJ Harvey, Jody, because we already got one from Kenny, and then I'll go to him.
B for me. That could easily turn into an A if he improves pass blocking. That was the one thing but it's that way with all rookies. I mean, like we just said, look at why Williams was playing.
Yeah, very true. And not asked to really pass block nearly as much on the college level than they are at the pro level. So it's an adjustment for just about every single rookie to come into the pro level. And you don't have a whole lot of tape to say that we've done that, seen that. So Kenny, where'd you want to go?
Just Glenn's comment. I know we're got the commercial coming up with our sponsor, and I'll be rapid on our responses on a couple of these other picks coming up. He's saying, "Good morning, gents." He's out there in Australia, so I definitely saw this comment come up. Happy Hump Day! What a draft! Contrary to fan responses and mocks, I like what we have done in the draft. We have taken the best available players to fit our game style, and then this is what caught me by. Plus, our Aussie punter from Australia. Kicking skills are trained here for Australian football and rugby from age 4. Impact day 1, I'm telling you. Impact day 1.
It's kind of like the kid with the baseball and the mitt here in America, or the football in his crib. It's just, there's some things that are a little bit more born to. And in Australia, you're born to kicking that rugby football from a very early age. And that's never really put that into context. So RJ Harvey gets a B+ from Glenn Ashley. RJ Harvey and Barron, A+ and A+ from Paul Schaefer. So he's loving what he's got. A C from Peter Johnson. Thanks for Peter Johnson for jumping in here. He says thinks he can help in front of other backs, third down blocking, short yardage, etc. He has the tools to break big plays. Is the positive. So I think he needs help in the form of other backs. Third down. Like a third down blocking. Gotcha. Short yardage, I'm not going to give you, though. This guy is a short yardage and goal line king. He absolutely thrived in that area. So that's one of the reasons I really think that the blocking is also a good possibility. The way that he goes into the line, that he plays at the goal line, that can kind of somewhat translate into the blocking as well, I guess is the best way to put it. A B for Pearl. And speaking of Pearl is our amazing sponsor over at Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets has been your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, I'll try that again. Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices for over 34 years. Once a nationwide company, now they're just in your backyard. Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming, they're doing shows and tours and you name it, fairgrounds. They're out there spreading their wares and selling to everybody, smiles on their faces. But if you can't get out to one of those shows, head on over to Etsy, type in Morgan Trinkets Co. That's Morgan Trinkets Co. And there you are. You're all set up, ready to go. You're seeing everything that Pearl has to offer, including silver, sterling silver, 100% sterling silver that she has to offer as well. All orders over $50 shipped absolutely free, and all major credit cards are accepted. Check out Morgan Trinkets over on Etsy, Morgan Trinkets Co. That's Morgan Trinkets Co. today. Gentlemen, we better pick up the pace as we get through here. Here we are, running all the way through here. I just wanted to make sure I'm on track. Next thing we do, we run into the fourth round, right? We keep our picks, at least at this point, and we pick up Pat Bryant. I'm going to just go really quickly. Jody, you said you keep watching tape. You keep loving more and more of Pat Bryant. You compared him to Tim Patrick. What more do you want to say about Pat Bryant here as he takes the field for the Denver Broncos?
Great route runner. Love that he goes over the middle, gets separation, catches the ball with his hands. He had one drop last year, had 3 game-winning touchdowns last year. Will go up for 50-50 balls. Sean Payton compared him to Michael Thomas, said he had Michael Thomas-like traits. So if you get half of what Michael Thomas was, I think it's a steal. I will overlook, or I don't think it's that big of a deal as some people are making it. The 4.6 at the combine, the second slowest. He plays faster than what he ran at the combine. So the more I watch this pick, this is probably my favorite pick of the draft.
Nice. Favorite pick of the draft. There you go. Why don't you go ahead and let's give us your grade then on Pat Bryant while we have you, and we'll just continue on all around the horn.
If everything can translate, as of right, I'll go B- right now. That can easily turn into an A if things can translate in different things.
As quoted by one Pat Bryant himself, Michael Ronquillo says, Pat Bryant quote, "No block, no rock." And I saw that interview. That was a great interview with Pat Bryant. It was his idea, his mindset that he's set forth. I think it was his father who even mentioned it as well. That no block, no rock. If you're not out there blocking, out there helping your running back, don't expect to get a pass. Kenny, your thoughts on Pat Bryant and his grade?
Yeah, just to add a couple things to what Jody said real quick. I think it's a great pick for the Broncos. Looking at it now, a hands guy, Jody alluded to it, one drop in college. You got an accurate quarterback in Bo Nix. What a weapon to have than a guy who's got Velcro hands. So he's got Velcro hands. And that's the only thing I'll add to what Jody said. And Jody nailed it with the grade B-. On draft day, it was a C- for me. But doing some research on him, perfect fit for the Broncos, in my opinion. He's already jumped to a B-. So let's hope it turns into an A, like Jody said.
The part of that interview, and I wish I could go back and reference it, that the one that Michael Ronquillo is also referencing. One of my favorite lines from that, they asked him, so what is your mindset when you go out for one of those 50-50 balls? He says, ain't no 50-50, it's 90-10.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the mindset that this guy brings to the field. He also a captain, also an absolute leader on that Illinois football team, was the offense. For me, I'm surprised because, again, a guy that kind of came out of nowhere, but the more and more I watched him, just like Jody, the more and more I liked him. I'm giving a B+ for one Pat Bryant. I liked the pick. The only reason it's not in the A category for me is because you do have Troy Franklin. You do have Marvin Mims. You do have Cortland Sutton. If I saw a more direct path for Pat Bryant to be successful and put up a 1,000-yard season like he did in college in his rookie year, I probably would have graded it a little bit higher. But again, love the pick, just a little bit longer progression. I think he's ready. Just watching him out there perform, I think he's ready. I love the pickup. Let's move it right along.
I have a question real quick, just a
Yes.
quick one. You kind of answered it, but it's kind of a two-parter. Do you think that he will get lost in the shuffle because of where Peyton said that he loves Franklin and Vele? And do you think he might fill this little Jordan Humphrey roles of block, and not much receptions.
No, I think you have to give him more reception ability than you saw last year from Humphrey. But lost in the shuffle, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that. That's like I said, it's kind of why I answered my question. I like the guy, but I don't like his path to the field necessarily. To me, it spells that another release, another trade in the future of one of these guys. I mean, it seems like you have quite a bit of value placed on all these wide receivers and not enough space for them on your roster. So that's down the line in the future. Who knows? So, Kenny, I think we were to you, sir.
On Pat Bryant still or Savion Jones?
Did we already hit your Pat Bryant? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did.
I'm sorry.
I did it real quick to catch up. It was a C. On draft day, it was a C minus, but it's up to a B minus because I think he's a great fit for Bo Nix. Accurate catcher, pass catcher with an elite pass catcher, meaning Velcro hands with an accurate quarterback in Bo Nix.
It's in there now, man. It was Jody who distracted me, and when he distracted me, I got all thrown off.
But real quick, Keith, I'm sorry. Let me interrupt 1 second. Michael Ronquillo, before I forget, dropped 100 stars. Savion Jones was a 3rd-round pick before Pat Bryant was a 4th-round pick. Did we get that mixed up on the order there?
I have Savion Jones pick number 101, and Pat Bryant.
I think Pat Bryant went before Savion Jones.
Yeah.
We traded back very late in round 4 to get him.
In fact, I was just about ready to talk about that because I have it all marked down. When we traded back with the Panthers, we picked up the number 111 overall pick, and the 111 was coming up, and the Eagles came up, and we traded with the Eagles. They picked up the 111, 130, and 191. We picked up we traded up to the 101 mark and got the 134. So we traded with the Eagles at that point to go up and get Savion Jones. I'm sorry. So as the draft board kind of came down, we traded up from the 111 to the 101 pick at that point to go and get Savion Jones. I'm still trying to remember all this as I'm going through it, but I think that was, again, one of those times where it was kind of a shock. The Broncos, again, trading throughout this draft. And there was a lot of question now as we're all the way into the 3rd round, just outside the top 100, who the Broncos were going to take. I'll just go right off the bat. Kenny, what did you think about Savion Jones then? And what do you think about Savion Jones now that you've made that, you've seen that pick and maybe went back and looked at some tape?
This was the one I didn't like. And for a couple of reasons. He's a good player. He's an above average player in my opinion, but it didn't fill a need at 101. And Michael, I think he was alluding to that they were both 3rd-round picks, 74 and 101. So if that's where the confusion, one of us might have mentioned 4th-round pick or confused them maybe. So apologize about that, Michael. Thank you. This is the one I didn't like because you still got John Franklin Myers there. There was plenty, and the Giants got Darius Alexander in the 3rd round. There were plenty of defensive tackles that I think the Broncos missed on that I think they needed to get one in this draft. And that's the one, in my opinion don't matter. We're not the ones scouting. We're not the ones that are getting paid to coach and run the Broncos. But in my opinion, you needed a defensive tackle, a run stopper. We saw what the Bills did to the Broncos last year in the playoff game. You didn't address it here, and you made it. You got all this trade capital on 2 trades earlier just to give it up again for Savion Jones here. This pick here is a D+ for me. I'm sorry. The player on a different team, maybe a B, but for the Broncos, I don't like the fit. He's going to be stuck in a numbers game right now, and it's a D+ for me in the 3rd round, 101.
The trade up, the player and the fit doesn't match up for a good grade for Kenny Kirkpatrick. D+. Jody, your thought at the time? Obviously, the Broncos were moving all over the board, in these mid rounds, all the way throughout the draft for that matter. But in these mid rounds as they were playing out, and then go ahead and they trade up. They get just outside the top 100 at number 101 and get Savion Jones. Your thought on Savion Jones then and now?
When they first announced it, I thought I expect to see a John Franklin Myers trade possibly or early tomorrow or early Saturday. Like Kenny said, it's a numbers game now, because what if John Franklin? I mean, he had a good year for us this year, and he puts up another 8 to 10 sack season again. What do you do with him? Do you just let that walk for nothing, or do you re-sign him? You're probably going to re-sign Zach Allen for big money, and then where does he play? Is he your number 4? Like Kenny said, numbers game. Is he your number 4 lineman? Where does he fit in? I mean, John Franklin Myers to me holds all the cards. If he puts up another big season, and Denver having Russ is off the books next year and a lot of cap space, what do you do? What do you do with him, and where does he fit in, or where does he get playing time?
Yeah. Saw this too. Peter Johnson, he was talking about, just overall stats, didn't do really good on the bench overall. The other thing that really stood out to me, and it makes sense, I saw this comment that, we're going to be probably kicking me into the inside as well. A lot of people believe that, kicking him more towards the inside. He plays with shorter arms than I think he even has. He doesn't use his length very well for playing a defensive end position. It was the one thing that really stood out to me. I didn't like his hands. He'll probably do better on the inside. He does pretty good at fighting through blocks. And I think with this aggressive upfield defense that Vance Joseph likes to play, it's a pretty good fit for what he wants to do on the inside. Had multiple block passes, for instance, as well. Really has an eye for the ball. And I think he does play better inside than he plays outside, especially at the NFL level. But then it becomes a numbers game. Then it becomes, is John Franklin Myers being traded? What's the long-term plan? There's a lot of questions there. And I don't like necessarily taking a guy in college and saying, I know he played this position, but we see him playing this position, especially with a third round trade up. So for me, it does get one of my worst grades as well. I'm giving it a C- for Savion Jones overall. So I think he does have some ability to develop, get better, and I like his up the field type of pass rush that he may bring to this team. So that's the first thing I'm going to see if he hits the field, to kind of look for. But some of the other pieces might take a little bit longer to develop. All right, so we do the 101 pick, and then we have one more trade in here. But first, we get the 134 Quadarius, quote unquote, Q Robinson, edge rusher out of Alabama, with the number 134 overall pick. I'll go to Kenny on this one first. What'd you think at the time, and what do you think now that you've seen a little tape?
Another draft day D for me, but now that I looked at some tape, it's up to a C. He's going to be a special teamer. And you know what? In those middle rounds, that's where you look for. So me, it's 5th through 7th. But you know what? If you're going to get an elite special teamer, get him in the 4th, I'm okay with it. And he'll be a backup edge rusher. I don't think he's going to be threatening anybody's job with Benito, Cooper, and Ellis there. But he'll be depth if somebody was to get hurt. But special teamer, that's why the Broncos drafted him. And that's why I'll give that grade for the special teams B- on this pick.
All right, B- for one Q Robinson. I'll write to you, Jody, as we continue to plug through this episode. What did you think about Q Robinson here at the number 134 4th round pick? Edge rusher added to the Denver Broncos at the time and now. Any change?
I'm going to go with solid B, because special teams is the third aspect, and it is an important part of football that people overlook. If it wasn't for his injury last year, all reports he probably would have went higher. And it gives you a little reassurance if Nick Benito has another, breakout season and he kind of prices himself out of Denver. It allows you to replace that a little bit. So, I mean, you've already paid Jonathan Cooper. So if Benito prices himself out, it gives you some backup and some reassurance. Some depth.
Yeah, and the grade on that, I'm sorry, again.
B for me.
Okay, very good. I don't see the rotation fit again where we currently sit. It has to be more of a special teamer, and then you're talking about a special teamer in the 4th round with your 134 top 150 pick, right? Don't like that. The player himself, I'm going to bring back a name that Broncos country might remember. I don't know if they'll necessarily remember him fondly, but he kind of reminds me of a Shane Ray type of body, a Shane Ray type of skill set. Smaller guy, has good bend, has fantastic hands, actually, and can fight off defenders and get around the edge. I think there's more of a play for him to get on the field than most people think. I wouldn't slate him as a special teamer, but once again, because of he's doesn't have a very good track, I got a B- overall in the pick. I'm higher on this pick than I think most people are. So I like what I see. It's not bad, but the fit where we go, that's the big one. I'm getting Q gets an F, and Q gets an F up here, and
I think
there's
Q
a
Robinson might be the only person Michael's not friends with.
Yeah. Better depth piece than Tillman, in my opinion. Okay, so we got a little bit of an upgrade there, but even Paul Schaefer didn't like Q as well. So Glenn Ashley is a little bit more along my lines. B+, special teams weapon. He's a B+. That's for the unit. So, yeah, I like this one. Remember what we said about Benito? Yeah, Nick Benito was undersized, can't hold the edge, can't, we didn't know if he was going to develop. And next thing you know, look who he becomes last year. So it's all early grades. It's all early returns. I heard a lot of people talking this weekend about how quarterback evaluators are trash and they don't know what they're doing based upon everything we've seen in the past. It's tough to evaluate talent and try to project them into the NFL and then try to project them into your team and see how they'll actually play out. So all initial grades can be changed at any moment, anytime. 2 more, gentlemen. The last trade, we had the 197th overall pick. We end up giving that up for a 216 and a 241. The 216 ends up being, I'll let Kenny speak just quickly on this because he already did. Jeremy Crawshaw, Aussie punter for the Denver Broncos. He loves the pick.
A for Australia for my friends out there, Glenn and Peter. Australian kicker. I said all his accolades months and months ago. I said the Broncos will draft a punter in this draft. They're not going to wait for free agency. They were the only team to draft a punter. Enough said. Added weapon for the defense. Bronco fans are going to love this guy. And I'm ready to start marketing the T-shirts. Crawshaw with the stash. Let's go. The mustache is in. Let's go, boys and girls.
I'll get it.
Jeremy Crawshaw. Let's go. I won't give it an A+. I'll give it a solid A, though.
Awesome, buddy. Awesome. I knew you loved the pick. I knew that you spoke about getting a punter, and it came true. Came to fruition in the Denver Broncos draft. Jody, what do you think about the Crawshaw pickup?
I think it's a solid B+. I mean, you've got a lot of people were saying, oh, you could have picked him up as an undrafted free agent. But I think you've got to show that you are taking special teams important. And, when you can flip a field, and this pairing this along with some of the other moves they've made, I think tells you that they're going to be playing a lot of field position game and want Bo Nix to have short fields to work with. So I do like the pick that they are taking special teams seriously.
I love the pick. I remember being on the episode with Kenny when he said we should take a punter. And I remember saying, man, if we can get that guy who can, again, do that coffin kick, kick it out of bounds at the 5-yard line, inside the 5-yard line, right out of bounds, don't even let him return it. Get that specialist. Well, we did get a specialist. The highlight that I saw is him booming like a 60-yard, 50, 60-yard punt. Nothing too crazy, but the hang time was 5.3 seconds. Guy just has a cannon for a leg. He's going to hang it for days in Mile High. He's going to put us in situations we haven't seen or dreamt about since a guy named King came in punting the ball. So I'm just excited for what this could possibly do for the special teams unit, for that defense, for this team as a whole as we move forward. Or don't forget that special teams, that's that third unit that everyone likes to forget about. It's just as key as the offense and the defense. I thought that was a great pickup. Overall, I had it rated as a B+. Last one, man. 214th over 200. I'm sorry, 241st overall pick. I had numbers, got a little dyslexic there. 241st overall pick, 7th round pick. Go out there and get one Caleb Lohner, Utah tight end / basketball player. Kenny, what'd you think about Caleb Lohner pick as our 241st last pick of the draft?
I love it. 7th round, nothing to lose. I'm going to give this pick an A because it could become an A+. If he can play some special teams, he might make the 53-man roster, and then you have a couple plays for him in the red zone. And at his height, 6'7", going up against a 5'10" corner, sign me up every day of the week to throw the ball up in a one-on-one matchup. 90-10, make it 99-1.
He says, why not? Take a flyer, man. Caleb Lohner, 241st overall pick, 4 for 4 in the red zone, 4 for 4 in his career. What do you think, Jody? Taking the flyer on the next Jimmy Graham here?
I think that's exactly why they did it. To see traits of Jimmy Graham in him. If it doesn't pan out, like Kenny said, it was a 7th round pick. You took a flyer. It cost you basically nothing. And do you know how Sean Payton is? I mean, he's higher on Adam Troutman than a lot of people are here too. So that's probably going to be your tight end number 2 on this roster, whether people like that or not. And then you've got a couple other guys that did a little bit last year for us, along with Caleb. So, yeah, I like the pick. There's only upside for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess maybe I was a downer when I was giving my grades. I just, a guy that went back and looked at it. He didn't pick up a footballs from junior high till basically the last year in football, playing football for the Utes, was all completely bought into. He is an amazing. He might be the best basketball player on our team. I wouldn't put it past it. He's now the best basketball player on our team, and he's, hate to say it, guys, he's a white guy. So he's got a pretty good game in basketball. We'll see what the transition looks like. I think it's a very long path, and you're really taking a gamble on a guy that didn't see the field too much and was more of a basketball player than he ever was a football player. For me, it gets a C- grade. It's my second lowest grade, or tied for the second lowest grade that I have, along with Savion Jones in this draft. So I love the guys. I love that you guys have all this positivity and, why not gamble type of potential behind one Caleb Lohner. But for me, I guess I'll be the Demi Downer as we round out the evening here. So overall, Kenny, thoughts on this draft after it all got said and done? How do you feel it stacks up against maybe some of the other teams? You're a New York Giants fan, and everyone's talking about how you guys might have won the draft overall. How did the Denver Broncos also stack up?
I think, I'm going to let you guys, speak more. But I think when you look at it, and you look at the scouts and the coaching staffs, there's either going to be a lot of raises in people's salaries for all the reaches that they had, or there's going to be a lot of changes in the scouting department if these guys fail. Let's hope it's the first part. Overall, I think, this is a draft where a lot of people are going to have around the C range, including myself, but it has a big ceiling. So it could turn into an A, Bronco country. And the floor is not as far down. So I think it's like a C- as the floor. but it could be an A when it's all said as the ceiling.
Yeah, I was gonna almost do it two different ways, and you may have answered it, because I was like, should we grade this like A, B, C, D, E, F, or should we say, where do you rank this draft among the 32 teams? I mean, that one might be a little bit tougher, but I think it kind of comes to, I'll go first. I'll let Jody have the last word on this one, but I think we're in a similar mindset. I felt like this was kind of in the mid range with the potential to be a lot better, but it's just like a lot of unknowns. It's a lot of, everyone that all of us that were out there scouting and looking at different players and trying to find fits for the Denver Broncos for months weren't necessarily looking at these guys, these selections, these positions that they end up drafting as much. So a lot of it feels like it's going to be like a wait and see type of moment for a lot of these players. But I agree with you, Kenny. It feels like it's one of those drafts where we kind of put a little bit more on the line than we have in the past. And it'll be interesting to see how this draft class turns out as we look back in future years. Jody, what are your thoughts overall in this draft?
I grade it B minus, C plus, somewhere in there, with the potential, and it's really on one guy. If Pat Bryant turns out to be the guy that I've been watching on film and some different things, this is a home run draft based off of one guy, because I think you got yourself a wide receiver number 2 that could turn into your wide receiver number 1, replacing Sutton. If he can see the field, and Peyton will play him, and he can give you 500 to 600 yards next year and 5 to 6 touchdowns, I think it's a home run for what he has to battle on just playing time and the amount of ball Sutton's going to get. If he can give you that next year, a home run for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I always like to go a little bit further. I'll just mention this. When you said that, you saw some Tim Patrick in him, I see some Brandon Lloyd in him. I like the way that he like fights for the ball, rips down the ball, very hands on with the ball as well. Doesn't let the ball come into his body a ton. He's quite an athlete, has some potential.
I've seen a lot of people say Ed McCaffrey, and I see it route running and the way he blocked and was physical and stuff. The only thing is Ed McCaffrey to me was a body catcher.
Yes.
And this guy is not. He's a hands catcher. That's the big difference for me.
Agreed. Let's get some final thoughts. Let's get on out of here. Another fantastic episode, man. What a draft recap. Kenny, final thoughts from you.
Final thoughts. Just, of course, thank you, everybody. But Keith, I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to give you guys a couple of undrafted free agents to keep an eye out for. My final thoughts that could make the team on practice squad, and I think there's one that may have a chance to make the 53. Missouri edge rusher Johnny Walker. I think he's got a good chance of making the practice squad. Georgia offensive line Xavier Truss, good chance of making at least the practice squad. With linebacker J.B. Brown out of Kansas, $160,000 signing bonus to sign with the Broncos as an undrafted free agent. That's a lot of money for an undrafted free agent. Keep an eye out for him with the linebackers. And the one that really got a chance of making the team, Jacksonville State center Clay Webb. Had some character issues in the past, which is in the past. So we'll forget about those. It's not the Broncos' nature, so it makes me think a center position, this kid may have a chance of making this team. So just wanted to do that in final thoughts. Some players I think that have a chance of making the team either on the practice squad or the main roster.
Awesome, bud. I appreciate the update on undrafted free agents. It's a lot to take in all at once. I'm going to have to take a look at these guys all myself. But final thoughts before we get out of here as well, man.
Final thoughts. Again, thank you, everybody. Broncos country, I know some people are happy with the draft. Some aren't. I'm right down the middle, but that means the floor can be high. The floor is going to be low and the ceiling's high for me. Punter is going to be an added weapon for the defense. I think this draft could be one that has a chance of being special when it's all said and done. And, prove me wrong. That's what I said in the past. Prove me wrong. And let's go Broncos.
Nice. I can't wait for it, man. I want them to prove us wrong. It's an interesting draft class, to say none the least. Jody, some final thoughts before we jump.
Be excited for this draft. I think you got a home run in the first round. You got a running back that fits exactly what Sean Payton wants, and go watch some film on Pat Bryant. Don't just go off of the second slowest time at the combine. Go watch some film on him. Watch his route running. Watch how he goes across the middle. Watch how he gets separation and how he catches the ball with his hands. And I think people that are down on that pick will start to like that pick a lot more.
Yeah, I think initial reaction, wide receiver, what are we doing? I think a lot of people just automatically retracted from the pick. Don't retract from the pick until you see the tape, because you're absolutely right. Great player. If for some reason you weren't high on RJ Harvey, like I was really high on RJ Harvey, please go ahead and take a look at some tape there. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised on what he brings to the table as well. And just I wanted to say thank you to the posse again. After 3 days of coverage, getting burnt out on all the draft coverage, even though the draft was more popular than ever. And quite honestly, the Pick Is In Draft show was more popular than ever too. We appreciate you coming back. We go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. We also have those Sunday after game podcast, or whenever after game podcast that we do all throughout the season. And you never know when there's an emergency pod. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. Make sure you check out Morgan Trinkets, our amazing sponsor for all your Southwest jewelry, Southwest pottery, and estate gold at wholesale prices. And please, 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 as we get out of here, remember, keep those boots in the stirrups, keep your guns in the holsters, and as always, keep the Denver Broncos in your heart. Until Friday night, we're out of here. Have a great night, everybody.